I want to describe a moment that looks almost too ordinary to matter. You have finished what needed doing. The kitchen is reasonably clean. The messages have been answered. Nobody is waiting for you. You sit down, maybe with a cup of tea, and within 30 seconds, your mind starts looking for a reason to get back up. The laundry could be folded. You should check on someone. You have probably forgotten something. And if none of that works, a quieter feeling arrives. Guilt. Not because you have done anything wrong, because you are resting. Some people can stop when the work stops. Other people have to negotiate with themselves for every minute of stillness. Even then, the body stays braced. The ears keep listening. The mind keeps one door open for the next request. If that is you, you may call yourself driven, responsible, bad at relaxing. You may joke that you do not know how to sit still. But sometimes there is more underneath it. Sometimes rest feels unsafe because being useful once helped you feel safe. Maybe you grew up in a house where moods changed quickly, so you learned to read the room before you read yourself. Maybe there was always something that needed handling. Maybe praise came when you helped, stayed easy, or did not add one more problem to the pile. Nobody had to say, you only matter when you are useful. A child can learn that lesson from the shape of a day, from who gets warmth, from what happens when she needs something, from how much calmer the room becomes when she takes care of it. Years later, the room can be calm and the assignment can still be running. That is the part I want to talk about today. Why rest can bring guilt instead of relief. Why an empty afternoon can make you restless. Why you may keep inventing jobs after the real work is done. And more importantly, how to tell the difference between a responsibility that belongs to you and an alarm that has simply outlived the emergency. This is not a video about becoming careless. You do not need to abandon the people you love or let your life fall apart. It is about noticing that care and constant readiness are not the same thing. By the end, I want you to have one small way to sit down without putting yourself on trial. Not perfectly, not for an entire day, just long enough to discover that the world does not come apart when you are not holding it every second. If rest makes you guilty, stay with me. That feeling may be familiar, but it is not a verdict on your character. It may be an old job that no one has told you is over. A child does not usually think, I am becoming hyper-responsible because the adults around me are inconsistent. She thinks, what can I do to make today go better? So she notices things early. The sound of a cabinet closing, the look on a parent's face, the bill on the counter, the younger child getting loud. She learns that timing matters. If she helps before anyone asks, maybe the tension drops. If she stays productive, maybe nobody turns toward her with disappointment. This can happen in a visibly chaotic home. It can also happen in a home that looks completely functional from the outside. The pattern is not about whether the family was dramatic enough to earn a label. It is about what the child had to monitor and what happened when she stopped. For some children, usefulness becomes a reliable way to belong. They are the mature one, the helper, the one who can be trusted. Adults smile when they handle things well. That competence is real, and it may serve them for years. The cost is that stopping can begin to feel like becoming less lovable. Rest then carries two uncomfortable questions. If I am not helping, am I selfish? If I am not producing, do I still count? Those questions may never arrive as words. They show up as movement. You wipe a counter that is already clean. You answer a message that could wait. You offer help before checking whether you have any energy left. You turn a quiet Sunday into a list and feel oddly relieved when the list gets long. The relief matters. Activity gives the alarm somewhere to go. It lets you feel ahead of the danger, even when there is no danger in the room. That is why telling yourself to just relax often does not work. The problem is not that you have failed to understand the benefits of rest. You understand them perfectly well. The problem is that part of you still reads rest as a loss of position. When you are moving, you know who you are. You are the dependable one, the person nobody has to worry about, the person who catches what other people miss. When you stop, there is no role to perform for a minute, and that can feel less like freedom than exposure. It is worth saying clearly that none of this makes your competence false. You really are capable. You really do notice things. The goal is not to become oblivious or unreliable. The goal is choice. Can you help because you want to, rather than because stillness makes you panic? Can you finish a task without immediately auditioning for the next one? Can your care for other people include a body that is allowed to sit down? The old pattern says your usefulness buys safety. The adult truth is quieter. You are allowed to be present even when you are not performing a service. You do not have to earn your place in every room again. This pattern rarely stays in the childhood home. It follows you into very ordinary adult moments. Someone else is cooking, and you hover nearby asking what you can do. A friend offers to drive, and you spend the trip planning how to repay her. You take a day off, then fill it with errands so it still counts as a productive day. Sometimes the guilt is loud. More often, it is disguised as preference. I would rather do it myself. I am just more comfortable when everything is handled. I do not need much downtime. Maybe all of those sentences are partly true, but notice what happens when rest is not your choice, when your body is tired, when a plan gets canceled, when somebody says, "Sit, I have this." Does relief arrive, or do you become watchful? Do you enjoy being cared for, or do you start measuring the inconvenience on the other person's face? Do you rest, or do you supervise the person who is helping you? That last one catches a lot of people. They receive help while staying mentally in charge of the help. The hands may be still, but the assignment is not. There can also be resentment. You do everything before anyone notices, then feel unseen because nobody noticed. You keep moving because stopping feels wrong, then feel hurt that everyone else seems allowed to stop. That does not make you petty. It may mean a part of you is exhausted from following a rule nobody else can see. Here is the reframe I want to offer. The guilt you feel while resting is not evidence that rest is wrong. It is a feeling. It may be an old alarm. It may be the discomfort of doing something unfamiliar while your mind reaches for the role that used to protect you. You do not have to obey a feeling simply because it arrives with authority. Think about a smoke alarm that became too sensitive. The sound is real. You do not shame it for making noise. You check the room. If there is no fire, you do not set the house on fire to make the alarm correct. You let the sound be information. Then you respond to what is actually happening. Rest can work the same way. When the guilt arrives, ask, is there a real responsibility here? Or is my body asking for the old position? Sometimes there is a real responsibility. Fine, name it and decide when you will handle it. Sometimes there is only the feeling that a good person should always be available. That feeling deserves kindness, but it does not get to run the schedule forever. You are not abandoning anyone by allowing a quiet hour to remain quiet. You are learning that care does not have to be proven through exhaustion. And you are discovering something the younger you may never have been shown. You still belong when your hands are empty. I do not want to end by giving you a new list to perform perfectly. That would be a very clever way for the old pattern to keep its job. So start smaller than your ambition wants to start. Choose 10 minutes. Not a wellness day, not a silent retreat. 10 ordinary minutes when one reasonable task can wait and no one is in danger. Before you sit down, name the task you are not doing. Be specific. The dishes can wait until 7. I will answer that message after dinner. Someone else is making the plan tonight. This matters because a vague pile of unfinished responsibility can keep the mind circling. A named task with a time has an edge. Then sit somewhere your body can feel supported. Put both feet down if that helps. Let your hands be empty. When the guilt arrives, do not argue with it for all 10 minutes. Try one sentence. I know you think work keeps us safe. Nothing is required from me in this moment. You may not believe the sentence yet. That is all right. The point is not to produce instant calm. The point is to stay seated long enough to gather new evidence. Notice what does not happen. Nobody withdraws your place in the family. The room does not collapse. Your worth does not drain out through the chair. A task remains a task. It does not become a moral emergency because you waited 10 minutes. If someone offers help, try receiving it without immediately paying it back. Thank them. Let the exchange end there for now. That may feel surprisingly exposed. You can feel grateful and uncomfortable at the same time. Receiving is a skill when you have spent years being the person who gives first. You can also watch your language. Do you say, I was lazy today, when you mean, I rested for an hour? Do you say, I did nothing, after feeding yourself, answering people, and making it through a hard week? Try describing the day without putting yourself on trial. I was tired, so I stopped. That is a complete sentence. Over time, the goal is not to become a person who never feels guilty. The goal is to let guilt sit in the room without handing it the keys. Some days you will get up after 2 minutes. Some days rest will feel good and then strange. Some days you will discover that you were not avoiding life. You were tired. There is no prize for staying on duty after the shift has ended. The younger you learned to be useful for good reasons. She was observant. She found a way to create order and keep connection. You do not have to insult her strategy to stop living inside it. You can thank it. You can notice when it appears. And you can let the adult you make the next decision. If this brought someone to mind, or if it sounded uncomfortably familiar, Leave a comment with one thing you allow yourself to stop doing tonight. Subscribe if you want more calm conversations about the roles we learned early and what it takes to loosen them now. For the next 10 minutes, nothing has to be earned. You are allowed to be here with empty hands.